Very excited today to have Elizabeth Guzman from Virginia on the line with us. And we're excited to do a live interview with us. We are Sister District Project San Francisco captains. And Elizabeth has agreed to join us today for a live interview. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me. I appreciate that, being up early on a Sunday morning in California. So thank you so much for having me.
It's our pleasure. So Elizabeth, you are running for Virginia House of Delegates in District 31 in Virginia. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started? We're very interested in your immigration story. We heard that you came over from Peru, and we're wondering why you came and how you came and what that was like.
Sure. Well, I'm originally from Peru, as you mentioned earlier. When I graduated from high school, I was an honor student. However, in Peru, you didn't have the opportunities that you have in this country. So I have 3 older siblings. I was the youngest. And all of my siblings were going to a private college because we only had 2 public universities in Peru. But public is 100% free. However, those universities were taken over by the Shining Path back then during the late 1980s. So I could have gone to school to a public university, but then the chances to be recruited by the terrorist group were really high.
Oh, wow.
So my parents didn't want me to. As they said, you just have to wait for one of your siblings to graduate from a school, and then it will be your turn. Then we'll have you to go to college. Just wait, As I'm a busy body, I cannot sit still. I'm a multitasker, so immediately I was like, okay, what I'm gonna do home? So I applied for a scholarship in Argentina to go to the School of Medicine in the University of Buenos Aires. I was admitted with the full scholarship. However, my parents did not wanted me to go by myself. My dad was like, well, there's no way, you're 16 years old, that you're gonna go to a new country by yourself. If you're gonna go with your mother. And I'm like, Dad, the scholarship is not for my mom. If she comes with me, then I had to live somewhere else. I will lose, my housing. So everything is just for me. So he's like, well, no, then wait, just be patient. Why can't you just wait 3 years until your oldest sibling graduate and then you go to school? So still, I was bored at home. I found a few jobs, as a 16, 17-year-old. But then my mom asked me to go to technical school to become an administrative assistant. So I went to school. I graduated with honors from that school. I found good jobs. And then I got pregnant when I was 18 years old. Out of wedlock, I didn't want to be with my daughter's father and just decided to have my child as I was 18 years old. I was already working. So as I was living in Peru with the salary of an admin assistant, and what happened to me as I was raising my child, I wanted a different future for her. I wanted that anything she wanted to be in life, I wanted her to achieve it. So I realized that if I would have stayed in Peru with the salary of an admin assistant, then my story will repeat again. And she won't be able to go to college just because of that. So I said, no, I need to get out of this country. I need to go to a place where I can make more money so she can go to college. And then I did research that here in the United States, money was not something that will stop you from go to school if you really wanted to go to school. So I'm like, okay, that's my place to be. I need to go there. I have relatives in Virginia, and that's why I came to Virginia. As my cousins also being first-generation immigrants, they accommodated me in a 2-bedroom apartment where they already had 2 families living there. So what they could offer me was a couch to live with my daughter. And I said, that's fine, I'll just stay there. I found my first job as a cashier of a fast food restaurant from 9 to 3 when my daughter was going to school. Then I realized that was not enough money. So I wanted to, I was like, well, again, always reflect as a mother. I think that's the life of a mother. You're always thinking about the future and your children, right? So I said, well, I didn't come to this country just to live in a couch and just barely make it. So I need to have at least a bedroom first. So I had my second job and I worked overnight in a pharmacy that was 24 hours. So my schedule in the pharmacy was from 10:30 to 6:30 in the morning. So when my daughter was sleeping, then I will go to work. And the next day I will come home, take a nap, drop her in school, go to the job, then come back. But then I still was not able to afford just anything by a bedroom with the 2 minimum wage jobs back in Virginia, which was back then $5.25. So again, I'm like, no, I wasn't happy. This is not for me. So I tried to qualify for a one-bedroom apartment, and I realized that I did not make enough money. So for me to qualify for that, I had to have a little bit of more income. So I'm like, how am I gonna do this? What time I have left? So my only place was to work on the weekends in a store that does not longer exist, which was Heads. It was a department store. So I worked there Saturdays and Sundays, and I was making $8 an hour. So I'm like, oh, wow, from $5.25, I like this. When I make $8 an hour. So finally I qualified. I was making more than $400 a week. So I was able to submit my application to rent my first one-bedroom apartment. Then, after that, I found mentors in my life. I'm blessed to have met people that have seen in me a potential that I could do better. And, my first office job that I got here as a receptionist in a healthcare agency. No, actually, first in the pharmacy, one of my clients who worked in Verizon, he would come early in the morning and he will say, hey, you're too smart. Why are you working here? Do you know about computers? And I'm like, yes, I was an admin assistant. Of course, that's what I do for a living. And he's like, well, you need to find yourself an office job. And I'm like, no, I'm okay here. What office job for me? No, there's no way. So one day he showed up with the Washington Post and he highlighted all of the jobs for admin assistants here in Virginia. So he said, here you go. This is how you find jobs here in Virginia. You go to the Washington Post and apply to those places. Do you have a computer where you can type up your resume? And I'm like, no, but I can go to a library. And he's like, okay, just fax it, give them to me. I can fax them for you. And that's how I found my first job in an office in a healthcare agency in Vienna, Virginia. So I worked there, and then the owner of the agency said, hey, I was hired as a receptionist, then promoted as an office manager, then as a case manager. And she's like, you need to go to school. I wish I could, because you are smart, but you just need a degree. In this country, if you want to make more money, if you have to go to college. Otherwise, this is it for you. You won't be able to go any further. So she actually, one day of work, walked me to a community college in Northern Virginia, the Northern Virginia Community College. And she said, listen, she works for me. She's really smart. She wants to sign up for college. And she's like, you don't say nothing. You just watch me. So I took the placement test for math and for English. And for English, since I didn't graduate from a high school here in the States, I had to take one class of ESL, English as a second language, but it was like the highest class. I did it just one semester. So after that, I took college credits. But then in math, after I did my placement test in math, I was placed straight to pre-calculus. And my boss was like, you see, I told you were really smart. Usually people don't qualify here straight. You are, passing algebra, geometry, everything. You're going straight to calculus. I knew it. I knew that you were smart. So that's how I started, in Northern Virginia Community College. I graduated in the class of 2002 as an office my degree was office management and administration. And then I found better jobs and better jobs. Then later, my husband is from Peru, but we actually met here. He was married before. I was married before too. We didn't work for both of us, but we were friends. And then we got married in 2006. And now I was having good jobs of being bilingual. It's very an important skill here in this area because there's not many people. It was not many people. Now it's changed, completely changed. So it was an important skill to have computers and an associate's degree to work in an office. So I work in different organizations. I work in the school system. I work in the private sector. Then we started having children. And when I was pregnant of my youngest baby, who is 8 now, Hannah, I had complications of my pregnancy because back then I was working in a construction company as the director of operations. So my job was Monday through Sunday with a Nextel radio, with my laptop everywhere. So I didn't stop. It was a very intense job. I make a lot of money, but they actually absorbed my life. So I had complications in my pregnancy, and my doctor was like, your baby or your job? You tell me. And my husband was like, no, our baby, because I was getting old too. I was like 35 when I was pregnant with my youngest baby. My husband said, no, I think I can do it. I keep working and you can stay home so we can have our youngest baby. And then again, I was at home, I cooked, I cleaned, but after I was done watching my baby, I was like, I'm not a TV person. I've never been a TV person. So I was like calling my husband crying, I'm frustrated, I need to find a job, I don't know what to do here. And he said, who's gonna give you a job pregnant? Just wait until you have the baby and then you find. And I'm like, no, I would cry every day because it was frustrating for me for having multiple jobs or working 7 days a week. So he is the one actually, hey, I have an idea. What about you go back to college and you get your bachelor's degree? And I was like, college? Oh yeah, that's true. I forgot about college because I was making a lot of money, as I was telling you before. And so I applied, I was admitted in school in Capella University, Minnesota, where I was doing school online. Everything was online. I graduated. I graduated in 2000. I think it was 2010, 2011. I went back to work. I was working in the school system before. I was missing my benefits where I was working in the private sector, because working in government, you have your sick leave for your family, your annual leave. It's something that is not in the private sector, right? In the private sector, you could have 2 weeks of vacation and that's it. So I missed my benefits while raising my children. So I decided to go back to government. And I work for Fairfax County government, which is one of the richest and largest governments here in Virginia. And I worked there. While I was there, I did my master's degree in public administration. I went to American University and completed my first master's degree. And then because I work in human services field, I felt like there was a disconnect in between administration and social work. Because in one hand, you have the social workers, clinicians, trying to offer more services to care about the community, but then you have the administration side to see how much money you need to spend, and sometimes you don't have enough money to cover for all the services that you need to offer. So I'm like, I need to know both so I can make good decisions to drive the operations of a local government organization. So with that mindset, I decided to go to School of Social Work. I am a USC graduate. I went to the School of Social Work and I graduated last year in August. But I'm a macro social worker. My specialization is in community organizing and policy advocacy. So I went to Capitol Hill, I went to Richmond, to the Virginia Assembly to advocate for different bills and talk to legislators about policies that would make sense for the field that I work on, without knowing that at some point I will run for office. So that's my story.
Wow, Elizabeth, that's an amazing story.
Yeah.
Thank you for telling us all about your journey. That sounds like such an amazing step-by-step story. So you said that your cousins lived in Virginia, and you decided to stay here, I assume because your family's here. But what drew you to Virginia? What made you stay? What do you love about Virginia?
What I like in Virginia was that number one, even though I was not close with my family members, I really fell in love with the school system, with that, because where I was living in Fairfax was incredibly diverse already. So we were able to see, I was going to visit my daughter's school. I could see the diversity in the classroom. I really enjoyed that. I really liked the school system. I realized that Virginia, especially the area where I was living, was really safe. For when you are raising your children, I think you really try to think about, is it a good school where your children are going to go? Is it a nice neighborhood? So I realized that I was able to find good job opportunities in the Northern Virginia area. The other thing was, also the weather. In Virginia, you are able to enjoy 4 seasons. You can enjoy summer, you can enjoy winter, fall, and spring, all the seasons. But I would say more than anything is the amount of job opportunities in the Northern Virginia area, and also the quality of the school system. And that's why, I always been involved in anything that had to do with the schools, because as being a mother of raising 4 children, I had to care about that as well.
Yeah, and so one of the things that I think lots of the sister district volunteers and district captains wanted to know is more about Virginia 31, your district. What are some of the issues? You mentioned being involved in the schools. You've obviously been a member of the community for a long time, and I believe you even ran for the PTO at some point. You've been involved like locally quite a bit. What are some of the issues that most concern voters in your area? What are some of the things that people there are really passionate about?
Well, I talk a little bit about the schools, so I'm gonna complete that first. In the schools, unfortunately, every year we're losing services. Anytime you look at that, actually my opponent, he sits on the appropriations committee. So when you look at his decisions as his voting record, you will see that every year he cut, anytime we need more services in the schools, he actually cut the funds for the schools. So what happens is that it reduces our ability to pay more teachers. It reduces our ability to build more schools, but also it reduces services like special education, guidance counselors, social work, and psychologists. So the reality of my district right now is, number one, that we only have 1 special education classroom per elementary school. So what happens is that your child, regardless of the disability or regardless of the age, they are placed in the same class. So, and I learned that by navigating the system myself. My son has ADHD. So he actually went to a private preschool. And when he was diagnosed, I wanted to bring him to the public school because I was told that that's where he would have more support systems. So he didn't have those services. I had to become my own child's advocate and inquire, number one, that he could stay in a regular classroom, because the only help that he needed was with reading, because he's very smart. So I just need help reading. My child doesn't need to go to special education classroom because he's going to be set for failure. So that's the one thing, right? Then guidance counselors, for me, they are extremely important, especially in middle school and high school, because you have these teenagers with mixed emotions that they don't know exactly what they're going to do. I have a 25-year-old and a 17-year-old. So as a mother, we go through a lot as parents, and also them trying, to determine their personality, why they like the most, there's so many things. So guidance counselor is an important role in schools, because for me, you need to have enough that will be able to help all the students. When my daughter graduated from the high school here in the class of 2010, the ratio for guidance counselor was 1 for 250 students. Right now, it's 1 for 500 students. And we don't have psychologists and social workers in all of the schools anymore. So for me, it's number one, we're losing the opportunity to diagnose these children that they may have a mental challenges and they need help. So because when they graduate from school, you want them to face the real world so they could be equipped with enough tools to go to college and have a normal life. But most importantly, because as a mother of a child with a mental disability, it's that you are losing the opportunity to teach these parents to become a support system for their children. It's not easy. So parents also need help. They need to learn how to become a support system for their children. But by not having these services in the school, that's what we are missing opportunities. Also early childhood education here in my district, especially with programs as Early Head Start and Head Start. They're very popular in California. Here where I live in the 30 units within the Northern Virginia area, while Fairfax, other localities next to us, they serve 5% of the population under 5 years old. Here in the 31st, we only serve 1% of those children. Now, the statistics are showing that, children exposed to the early childhood education experience will be more than likely to graduate from high school. They could be more than likely to attend college or vocational school. So, but most importantly, while these children are provided with full-time quality care and quality education, my moms don't have to stay home. They could go to work, they could go to school if they want, so they could become self-sufficient and they can leave the welfare system. That's what, for me, what is most important. So that's an education. I think that in all aspects, there's so much to do. And another important issue in my community is the lack of job opportunities and the transportation here in the 31st district. So about 60% of the population in my district commute outside of the district to find a high-paid job. I'm one of them. I work like about 22 miles away from where I work, from where I live. If I were to do the same job that I do in Alexandria, which is really close to DC, if I work for a local government here in Prince William County or in Fauquier County, I would have to take a $30,000 pay cut. So that's an 60% people who live here. So we care about, having more public transportation. Our public transportation, for example, has not been innovated since 1998. Since 1998, here in Prince William County, we have the same amount of bus stops, we have the same amount of buses. And the buses are not, if you look at the numbers and the demographics, our population probably have doubled the size. So, but when you look at the buses are empty. Why? Because it's not a reliable service. The runs are one each hour. On Saturdays, it's one every 2 hours. And we don't have a service on Sunday. And that's the PRTC, Prince William Rappahannock Transportation, is the only one that we have here in Prince William County. While you go to Fairfax, while you go to Alexandria, you have at least 3 lines. So here we have 1 line. So that's why people don't ride the bus, because it's not reliable. The closest bus stop from where I live is about 10 blocks away. If I wanted to go to a closed shopping center that the driving time is 5 minutes, I would have to take not only 1 bus, but 2 buses. And it will take me an hour and a half. So that's why people don't ride it, I think the first we need to fix our transportation system here in Prince William County. And in Fauquier County, it's even worse because they only have a bus that runs on the city of Warrenton, who takes people from the hospital to the museum, to the city of Warrenton. It's like 4 stops or 5 stops, but there's nothing around it. So we need definitely to fix our transportation system. I would love to have like an inter-county bus that could bring people from Fairfax to Prince William County, from Prince William County to Fauquier County. I think because we have family members also who live across Virginia, Northern Virginia, they would love to visit us on the weekend. But if they are going to be in traffic Monday through Friday, they don't want to be in traffic on the weekends. So they will not come here. So that's one thing. And then I will also advocate to expand the metro. We definitely, with the amount of population, to have a transport to Prince William, and system right now, which is called Virginia VRE. So, but the closest stations from where I live right now, one is on Occoquan, which is a 15 to 20-minute drive, but during rush hour, it will take me about 30 minutes to get there. And then the other one is in the city of Manassas. It's a 25-minute drive. So if I'm gonna drive 25 minutes to go to the closest VRE station, I may just drive to go to work, because what I'm gonna spend there, and then it's gonna take me 2 hours to go to work. So that's what I do. And then here we have these tolls that are very familiar. I drove in LA and I saw those tolls. But here, the interesting part, I can't remember right now there, but here is that we don't have a set price. The price fluctuates. Like when it's rush hour, it's more expensive. The most people ride the tolls, the most expensive it is. When nobody, I mean, there's no traffic, then the prices go. I mean, it's hitting, but then at the same time, I appreciate that I could leave my house an hour later and I can be in my home earlier as well. I mean, later and earlier in the afternoon. So that's very important to me. I value, you know, being able to be with my family more time. So that's why I pay. But that's our reality right now. And I think that the reason why people, businesses, we don't have businesses investing here in Prince William County, it's because we don't have a reliable transportation system. Because as an investor, of course, you're gonna see who's gonna come to apply to jobs here. I mean, millennials, they don't drive anymore. They take public transportation. So of course they are looking ahead and saying, no, we won't be able to, you know, we'll have to hire locals and then we have to pay them more money, because the education also in this area is really high. So those are, I think, the issues that are very important for us here in the 31st, the top two in the 31st.
Great, thank you. So another thing that we heard about is that there are problems expanding the Medicaid program in Virginia, and I think that that's something that we read about on your website as well. And we were wondering if you could tell us a little bit about, first of all, why that's important, and second of all, what are some of the obstacles done in Virginia?
Well, as I was telling you earlier, I've been working in the human services field for a long time. So I've seen people dying for not having health insurance. You know, currently Medicaid in Virginia cover children. If you are under the federal poverty guidelines, it will cover children, it will cover pregnant mothers, it will cover seniors, and it will cover people with a disability, AIDS or cancer. That's it. It will not cover anybody else. So actually, you know, I had a client that she was pregnant and she lost her job, so she was eligible for Medicaid. So throughout her pregnancy, she developed preeclampsia and high blood pressure. So her insurance will be good until that baby was 6 months old. So she was able to get this medicine for free for 6 months, and then she lost coverage. When she went to buy her own medicine, each pill will cost her $100. So who can afford to pay, you know, somebody who's under the federal poverty guidelines could pay $100 for a pill. So then she found out how much these pharmacies were charging the insurance companies. So the insurance companies actually get a better deal. What she has to pay out of pocket as uninsured, $100, the insurance company had to pay $20 for the same pill. So that's how our system is so broken, right? It's always making the rich richer and the poor poorer. But it is just so our healthcare system is so broken. So for me, that's very important. You know, I believe that healthcare is a human right and it's not a privilege. And so I think that right now it was not approved just because of the composition of the Virginia Assembly. Right now in the Virginia Assembly, we only have 34 members and 66 Democrats and 66 members are Republicans. So we had a huge opportunity to approve Medicaid, but the vote was party line. So 34 votes in favor and 66 votes. But what is more frustrating is that if we were to approve Medicaid for all, like they have in California or in Maryland, we could have bring back to Virginia about $12 million, because that's how the federal government works. You know, if you were to offer Medicaid for all, then the federal government gives you back your federal tax dollars. They are brought back to Virginia. So this money that we could have used not only for healthcare, but for education or for transportation, for all the needs that I mentioned earlier. So that's what happened with Medicaid here. Definitely, if elected, that's one of my priorities. And I can't wait to share. I have many cases that I can bring to people's attention on how important healthcare is for anyone. I think that it is the basics, just to have healthcare. I mean, we have states that are already doing it. And then, but then I see also that that's also the beginning. You know, we still have to fix our healthcare system nationwide. But as a state, we just we can influence so much. But I do believe that the Virginia Assembly as a whole should be on the same page and try to put pressure on the federal government to offer a single payer system or Medicare for all, because Mexico already has it, Canada already has it, and we're supposed to be the wealthiest country in the world. So why we cannot do it, right? So there's so many things to do. You know, also the pharmaceutical industries, where we have to pay 10 times the price that we could have paid importing drugs from Mexico or Canada. There's so much to do, but we have to concentrate on our state. But I believe that as a state, if we get together and we talk to our representatives in Capitol Hill, we definitely can bring it to their and put it on their agenda and have them health insurance be a priority.
One of the things, that definitely seems to be something we heard. We are also supporting your friend Lee Carter in VA 50, and the proximity between your district and DC is quite unique. You know, so we were also wondering about other elections in VA 31. You know, in 2015, and more importantly, even in 2013. There were some very close races in your district where the district almost flipped. You know, what do you think has been special about those elections? What do you think are the things that could happen to swing the election more in our favor and your favor?
Well, we had two close races in the 31st, right? And another gubernatorial year like this one, we lost by 228 votes. And then 2 years ago in 2015, we lost by 1,300 votes. So what are the likelihood of us winning? What I thought about it when I decided to run. So number one, I've looked for how long the former candidates were running. And I've learned that it was 6 months, 5 months. And when you're running against a 16-year incumbent who only represents 16% of the voting population, it's like, no, I cannot do that. If I want to take this challenge, I had to run a long-term campaign. And that's why I decided to run in October. And I said, I'm going to have, because he works hard. I don't want to take that away from him. You know, he's a door knocker. He goes and knocks on doors every day. And so what I did is, like, people need to know that there is an option, that they don't have to vote for him. So I need to reach as many doors as he's doing. I need to be in that community and put my name out there so people know that there is another candidate on the race. So that's what I've been doing. I've been going to a lot of community events within the 31st district, and also outside. Early on the campaign, I went outside of the district, because what I wanted to do is go to bluer counties and see how they do business over there, because I wanted to know what they are doing different than us. You know, this is the first time that Prince William County went blue for these presidential elections. So I wanted to know what in other counties, how they are doing. So I met a lot of people. One of them is actually a person that I saw last night, because I had a meet and greet. When I saw him, it was like, I was really happy to see him. I met him in December. His name is John Hastings, and he is a precinct captain in Arlington. So I met him in a holiday party in Arlington. And he said, and I asked him, hey, what do you guys do throughout the year? How do you guys get more Democrats? How do you? And he's like, well, we have organizers at each precinct. And I'm like, well, that sounds interesting. How that works? So, well, you just have precinct captains in each precinct, and they're going to be the ones who are going to talk about your campaign and talk about you. They're going to introduce you to their neighbors. So he came on January 7th to train my volunteers to become precinct captains. So that's what we did too. We have presence in the 24 precincts in the 31st district. My district, different than the 50th, is that my precincts, I have 19 precincts in Prince William County and 5 precincts in Fauquier County. So my opponent in Fauquier County, he's pretty much crushing all the Democrats who run in Fauquier, because the numbers, there are more Republicans there, and that's going to be, that's a fact. Now, my expectation is to win. I'm planning one precinct out of those 5. But most importantly is that I need every single Democrat to know about my campaign. I need to rely on them that they will get out and vote in Fauquier County. I cannot allow him to crush me 3-1. Because if I do that, even though I could win in every 3-1, then I can lose the election. This is how he has been winning. There's a lot of support in Fauquier County. So my commitment with Fauquier Democrats, and if they are online today, is that I will campaign as hard as I campaign in Prince William County and in Fauquier County. And I think I've been doing it. If you look at the results for the primary, I came to win a primary that I ran against and the nominee for 2015. So I won that primary, and I had a lot of support in Fauquier County, and she was from Fauquier County. So out of those 5 precincts in the primary, I won 2. And I think actually 3, and she won in 2, but just a few votes. So the numbers are out there. There's a lot of excitement in Fauquier County and Prince William County. I'm trying to give them the same amount of importance. We have an organizer working there. We have organizers here. We have precinct captains over there as well. We keep them engaged on what we're doing. If they have a question, my precinct captains, each one of them, they have my campaign managers. Sometimes don't like this, but they have my cell phone number. They have my email. So they know how to reach out to me when they need me, when they need something soon. But I think that is very important for me, to be available for them when they have a question, when they have a concern, because that's how I'm going to keep them engaged, and that's how they're going to spread the word about the campaign.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We probably have time for one more question, or 2, 1 or 2 more questions.
Well, Elizabeth, do you have to go at a certain time, or can we go a little bit over time? Because I think we started a few minutes late.
Oh, that's fine. Let's go. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So we wanted to actually talk a little bit about your opponent, if you have some time. So you mentioned that he's been running for a long time and that he's the incumbent, and he's been in this office for quite a few years. What do you think is the biggest difference between the two of you? Obviously there are a lot, but if you could point to just one thing that you would say to somebody who's maybe undecided, what would you say to describe the difference between you?
I think that my main thing against him, he's been my delegate for 16 years. I never met him. He's never campaigned in this community because he knew that this district where I live is Democrat. I think what it bothered me the most is when he advocates for issues that are out of touch with the community. He's not knowledgeable of what our families need and what the priorities should be. So being out of touch is very important, to me, and it bothers me because it's like, for example, this year, he presented a bill to arm security officers in the schools. So I'm like, well, number one, he's like, yeah, we need to protect we need to protect our students. But then I'm like, well, we don't have security officers in Prince William County schools. We don't have money. Hello, we can afford to have it. I mean, in elementary schools and middle schools, we just have a database where you go and check in, and they run your ID on a sex offender database. And we have a partnership with law enforcement. And the police officers are already armed. So I'm like, okay, it's a good idea. Thank you for your safety concern. But by the way, we don't have security officers because we don't have money. You know, so that tells you that he is that type of person that just cares about issues that he's a person who loves guns. So anytime you talk about him everywhere, he will talk about guns and how Democrats wanted to change the Constitution because our founding father said that we should have, you could have guns and you can use guns, right? But what he doesn't realize, you know, he does it because he gets this money from the NRA that actually funds his campaign. But then there's actually a fatality that happened in the 31st district where I lost my neighbor. You know, 4 blocks away from where I live, I had a domestic violence abuser who killed his wife and a police officer in front of his child. So this person is from the 31st district. He is a veteran and was working in the Pentagon. And of course, he had a mental disability that was not treated. And he had a gun in front of him and killed his wife and a police officer. And actually, 2 police officers were wounded and they were injured and they have to go to the hospital. So when you see things like that, it will bring to your attention, there's something wrong with our system. There's something that we change. But he just disregards in our system, you know. And in Fauquier County, he's been the delegate for 16 years. And I have one precinct that they don't have internet connection. Could you believe that? There's a place in Virginia, you know, one of the richest states in the country, in my district, that we don't have internet connection. So what do? You've been there for 16 years, and actually this community in Fauquier County have been voting for you. And nothing, you know, there is just, we just have 2 companies that are vendors for internet. And then if they cannot do that job, then you hire somebody else, another company that's trying to do it so they can invest the money and do it. I mean, I just feel for those moms because, I mean, nowadays, my children, many of their homework requires internet access because they need to do something online, or the additional resources that are offered in school, you need to be connected in the computer. So how do they do it? You know, so he doesn't think about that. And those are important things that we need to do. I think the other main difference, like that brothers, Dominion Virginia Power, well, I don't. You know, actually, you know, with Dominion Virginia Power, we have a local issue here in Prince William County where they have been dumping toxic coal ash here in Dumfries in the Possum Point. So he still takes their money. You know, he has taken about more than $30,000 throughout his campaigning years, and he was silent while this toxic coal ash is killing the neighbors, and the neighbors had to become their own advocates and speak up because nobody would say something. So I would say that those are the main. Well, I am, you know, pro the issues that are relevant to my district. He's so concerned on federal issues or his self-interest instead of the community interest.
Yeah. So on the subject of taking money, we would like to talk a little bit about your campaign and fundraising goals for your campaign. We understand that sometimes we can't raise as much as the Republican opponent, but what is enough for your campaign? What do you think is your internal goal for fundraising?
Wow. Well, there's one thing that I'm a very competitive person, as you could say. when I saw his numbers when my opponent ran before, that he outraised in 2013 the Democratic candidate 2-1. He outraised the Democratic candidate in 2015 2-1. I'm like, no, you're not gonna do that to me. So my goal is to fundraise have a gap of $8,000 cash on hand right now between him and myself. Well, you get his numbers that it's like contributions. I have like contributions for my campaign. So our goal is to fundraise $500,000 for this primary. Now, we know it's not going to be easy, but if we have the support of nationwide organizations like yours, and also with them other Democrats that are outside of the district, like last night, I was in Arlington, was not in my district, but they did a fundraiser for me. I'm going to have another one for your sister district, DC, it's going to do on April 23rd. So, you know, I've been around Northern Virginia a lot, trying to get more Democrats to help me fundraise money for my campaign. I spent a lot of time on the phone as well, because we have donors here in the Northern Virginia area who usually are very generous and like to help Democrats running for office. So I spent quite a few hours on the phone trying to talk to them, trying to explain to them about my story, what is my strategy to win, and they have become, you know, investors of this campaign. So there are certain donors that I could count on and tell them, hey, I need your help one more time. I have another filing deadline, and I know you have helped me before, but I'm here to ask you again to support me. And they were like, hey, you know, thank you for the time. Thank you for keeping me abreast of what you're doing in your campaign. Yes, absolutely. I will send you more money. So, but it's just that I wanted to do, as I told you earlier, I want to stay competitive. I want to be really close to him because I want to be ready, number one, to respond to his attacks, because that's the way that they do politics, the Republicans. They like to send these mailers with lies and things about yourself. So I need to be prepared to respond. I need to be prepared. If he does TV, I need to do TV. If he does radio, I need to do radio as well. If he does pieces of mails, I have to do mail as well. So all of the money, it's going to go there, and we're working really hard. Again, even though we are the second top fundraisers in Prince William County and the first ones in Fauquier County, my goal is not about to compete with other Democrats in my district. My goal is to compete against him, and I want to stay competitive. I mean, I be close to him, because if I just take anything for granted, that gap is gonna get bigger, and I cannot allow that to happen. So it's a lot of in my mind, you know, even when I'm knocking on doors and I'm really tired, and I'm like, no, I need to keep doing it, because you know what? I am younger, so I can take advantage and just take a deep breath and keep on going, because I know that once he's tired, he go home, but I can keep on going. So I'm like, okay, I had to stay. I was there sometimes after 2 hours, like, oh, wow, I'm gonna go home. But no, or when you are on the phone asking for money, and I'm like, I wish I could have a donor that can give me $100,000. And then I don't have to do this anymore, and I can be in the community and I can be knocking on doors. But the reality is that that's not going to happen. And even if it happens, I will not be able to achieve my goal. So I have to spend a lot of time on the phone. I have to be willing and responsive to organizations like yours that want to help out, because once I just don't get in touch with you, or somebody that's interested in helping the campaign, we have to be alert.
Yeah.
To be responsive right away, and to be able to find those connections, because that's going to expand our network to make more money as well.
So speaking of donors who can give you $100,000, is the Democratic Party supporting your campaign? And if so, how? And if not, how can we help get you on their radar?
Well, you know what? One thing that I wanted to say, you know, coming through a primary, it's really hard because you have no support it's like you and your supporters. And it's really hard. I would like to say that after I won the primary, everybody has been on board with me and has acknowledged that I've been working really hard. And I appreciate that, because especially in those days when you are down, when you feel like you are spending a lot of time on making phone calls, and then you have the governor of Virginia calling you and telling you, Elizabeth, you are doing a great job, keep up the good work. When you have the finance director for the House Caucus visiting my campaign office, trying to train my finance staff, it's like, oh my gosh, you're taking the time to come and train my staff personally. So they have been there for me, you know. Starting with the DNC chair, called me last week and left me. I was upset that I missed his call, but he left me a beautiful message and said, Elizabeth, I'm listening great things about you. I'm so proud, because he's Latino as well, and he's keep it up, you know, si se puede, and keep up that good work and the hard work. So those little things keep me going. As far as financial support, they will not give you money like cash to spend, but they have provided with field organizers to my campaign, and that's why they are paying them. They are hired through the House Caucus, and they are on their payroll, but they come and work on my campaign, and that's the support that I had so far. Now we also had to invest doing a poll, because we want to make sure if our message is the right message, or we have to tailor our message to what the community is gonna, and that's expensive as well. So we finished the poll last week where they paid 50% and I paid the other 50%. So the help is there, but once again, they will help. And what I see is that everybody tells me, you are working so hard, you know, so we need to help you. Even last week, I had the pleasure to meet Jimmy Raskin, who's a progressive congressman here in Maryland. So it's like, that's a dream came true. I'm like, oh my gosh, I never in my life I would say that I will be with him one-on-one, but I got through him, through one of my supporters and the vice chair of the House Caucus, that she invited me to a meet and greet, that he will be the key speaker. So maybe it's not the money, but then also the connections as well, because after that, he actually created a group that is Democracy Summer. So they send me like 12 volunteers to knock on doors. So those, once again, I'm very, attentive of opportunities that are out there, and I don't hesitate to ask. Yeah. All the time, any opportunity, I'm always asking. Even with my Democrats within Prince William County, when I see them, hey, they ask me, how's the campaign going, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, it's going well. But you know what? If you can give me a check today, you can help me out. And they're like, okay, fine. I will give you. Even Megan, who is my call-time manager, she found me call sheets that I haven't been calling in a while. So it's people that I gave up because I called them so many times and I was not able to get money. But now that I'm the nominee, I reach out to some of them within Prince William County, and they are like, Elizabeth, oh, thank you for calling me. I haven't talked to you in a while. You're doing such a good job. I haven't given you money before, but you know what? You deserve my check. You've been trying so hard. You call me like 10 times. So, or, I like to also to connect people. When they send me a donation, I immediately wanted to see where they came from. And I wanted to connect their faces, because when I see them in person, I want a person to say, thank you so much for your support. I have also Congress people, like they have sent me a check because they said, hey, it's a congressman for the Arlington area, Congressman Don Beyer. And he sent me a beautiful note, handwritten note, and said, Elizabeth, keep up the hard work. Here's a check for your campaign, because you're working so hard and you deserve it. So I would say that I feel blessed, but then at the same time, I think that it's a recognition of the work that we are doing. As the campaign, we already knocked on, it was 11,000 doors, but actually yesterday, only one day, we knocked on 1,200 doors. Just one day.
Wow.
But this is just for my volunteers and people who came from Arlington who came from DC, sister district DC, send volunteers as well to knock on doors. So we are always, Sundays we knock on doors. We knock on doors Monday through Sunday. We cannot, there is no time to just take a break. We are in it. We are in this to win it. And we had to work hard. We are just close to 90 days away. I'm counting down the days, like, when is this going to be over? But yeah, that's the campaign. We have support. Because moral support is really important as well. And for me, those phone calls, in top of paying the field organizers, but doing those visits, doing those check-ins over the phone every now and then with important officials, it's very important for me. It's like, oh, okay, thank you. You made my day. So that's the support that we're having.
So as you know, we are very big supporters of yours also in San Francisco. We're excited to work on your campaign as well. And we actually have a fundraiser coming up on August 10th. I just wanted to remind everybody who's watching in the mission. So one of our questions is, what are some of the things that people like us who are way outside of Virginia, not anywhere near Washington, D.C., ways that we can help your campaign?
Okay. So you just mentioned one, doing a fundraiser is excellent, because once again, it's going to expand our network. We can go to other group of people that don't know about me, that will know about me, and we wanted to keep them engaged throughout the campaign. From where you are, I think you could also make phone calls for us. In the evenings, I think I recorded also another conversation with Sister District CA12. So you guys know a lot about my issues, because I always tell my staff, there is not a worse experience than a volunteer making a phone call or knocking on the door, not knowing the issues that the candidate cares the most. I've seen it happen. I was a volunteer for so many years, and you are going to face that at the doors. And if you don't know, number one, it can discourage you from, just from doing it at all. Because you said, oh, they're going to ask me, I feel very uncomfortable. They're going to ask me this question and I'm not going to know how to answer. I'm not saying that you will know it all, but at least you need to feel that you are equipped with the information that you need to answer those questions over the phone. So I would say phone calls are very important. My campaign also had already, so far in July, we have made 7,000 phone calls. But my district is one of the largest. We have 56,000 voters. So it's a lot of people that we have to reach out over the phone. And then we have these people that are commuting outside of the county. So the only time that you could reach out to them is going to be on the weekends or in the evenings, because they're never home other than that, because they are working outside. Yep. So phone calls are always appreciated as well.
Great.
Excellent.
And let's see. One other thing about fundraisers, fundraising, we know that some campaigns don't like to accept donations from corporations, and some only accept them from unions. Do you have guidelines for your campaign about who you accept donations from?
Sure. So I don't take donations from big corporations, like Dominion Virginia Power, like the Appalachian Industries, because I don't want them, to buy my loyalty, and I don't want them to stop any progress to come to Virginia. Now, there are certain different type of corporations, like my husband is an owner of a corporation because he's an LLC, but how much money does he make? So it is different, right? So there's a definition of corporations, and there is a difference. Of course, I will not take any money from big corporations. I will take money from small business owners. So far, I think that there are a couple of our corporations that have provided money to my campaign, but they are minority business owners. And it's, the huge donation that they gave me was $500. So wow, they're gonna bribe me with $500? I don't think so. So but actually they are very supportive. They gave me the first quarter when I had the primary, former to the primary. Each one of them gave me $500, and then they have made a second contribution of $250 each. but that's so much. I mean, these small corporations are not going to give you a lot of money. And I'm happy with those 250, 500 that can get everywhere there. And I don't think that there is nothing wrong about it, as long as there's not these big corporations that are trying to influence you as a legislator. I have zero tolerance for that.
Okay, great. So I think that we are almost through with all of our questions, and we're really grateful for all of your time today. I know that we went a little bit over time. So before we wrap it up, is there anything we didn't ask that you would like us to think about? Anything that you would like to leave us with?
Yeah, anything we didn't ask you that you wish you had a chance to talk about?
Well, I just want to tell you that I am very grateful for your support. Thank you so much. You know, I'm very humbled and honored by your organization giving me the opportunity to be part of this campaign. So thank you so much. I am proud to call myself a progressive Democrat who believes, you know, that healthcare is a human right and it's not a privilege. Democrat who believes in fair pay, you know, and social justice. I'm a progressive Democrat who is against mass incarceration because there is profiling and our criminal justice system, and we need to acknowledge the issues that we have in society if we want to move forward. Please help me be elected, because if elected, I will be the first Hispanic female in the Virginia Assembly. We have a huge opportunity to pick up 17 seats in Virginia so we can be the majority in the Virginia Assembly. And my commitment as a candidate and later your delegate will be to stay in touch, to have these conversations after, also to sit down, because I want to do check-in with people that have contributed to my campaign and give you updates of what I'm doing as a legislator as well. I think that's very important, and I have not seen anyone doing that. So that's my commitment. My commitment is to come back, you know, and sit down with you and have these conversations and give you an update and tell you, hey, Sister District California, this is what we work on this year in the legislation. This is what, remember when we talk about that I care about these issues, this is what happened. And I think that's gonna keep people more engaged, because 2 years from now, we have to run again and we need the support, we need everybody engaged. And I wanna be honest, as a Democrat, I felt like we neglected our voters, we neglected our support, and that's an important piece to stay connected. So thank you so much. Help me make history, and I'll be happy to have more women in the Virginia Assembly. The women here, the population of women here in Virginia is the largest, and many nasty women have been elected throughout these primaries. So there are many of us, and I think if we are the majority of the population, we should be also the majority in the House of Delegates, and I hope that happens because right now it's closed. But then I think most importantly is to take over the House of Delegates, because that's going to be our only way to resist and stand up not only to our current president, but also to a local Trump that we have here in Brisbane County, which is Corey Stewart. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, thank you.